Have you ever heard the old phrase, keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Well, what happens when you have two animals that are naturally opposing each other, but yet they want to be friends? Here recently we got a new kitten, and we kept this kitten in our garage and he ran all over the place. So we want to introduce him to the outdoors so he gets used to going out and just having fun. Plus we wanted to introduce him to our outside dog. Yeah, cats, dogs, in most cases don't normally mix very well. But surprisingly, when we introduced our new cat to our German Shepherd mix, they got along great. Our dog just wanted to lick and play with the cat. I think he adopted him almost like a son or a puppy. He just doesn't realize that he's a cat. Now in most cases, our dog likes to chase anything that runs. And it took a little bit of time for our cat to realize as long as he didn't run, he was fine with the dog. And occasionally the dog would chase him and the cat would run. But the great thing about it, it only took a couple times of the cat swatting at the dog and the dog quickly learned, maybe not the greatest thing to chase him. And then they became really close friends. They literally will jump at each other, trying to scare each other, and it's hilarious to watch this happen. Now we wanted to give the cat his own space. So underneath our back porch we have two kennels. One that we have set up for the dog and one that was just for storage. So we cleaned up the area, we set up a cat house that I built a few years ago, and guess what? The cat didn't really want anything to do with that side of the kennel. He wanted to be over next to the dog. Now since this was happening, we decided to start feeding the cat just on top of the dog house. We figured that's a safe place so the dog can't get up to it and eat his food and get sick, but it's also a safe place for the cat to kind of have his own area and still eat by himself. Then after a short while, we discovered that the cat was actually sleeping in a small container we had on top of the dog house. Go figure. So instead of this cat sleeping in his own cat house, he wanted to sleep on top of the dog house. So we decided, well, we'll just make that permanent for him. But one of the things I was concerned with was all of the jumping up and down that the cat would do on the doghouse. I mean, over time, this would easily injure its shoulders, maybe legs and paws, just all that jumping up and down every single day, multiple times a day. So it's time to build some steps or a cat ladder so this cat can easily get up and down on top of the doghouse without injuring itself over time. After looking at the doghouse, I figured it'd be best to have the steps coming off the side of the doghouse, and that way in case your dog wants to get in and out, or if the cat is trying to go up and down, the dog doesn't interfere and have the cat fall off. So let's measure this. It's around 37.5, so we'll say 37 to 38 inches high right here on the side, and we'll work with that. Now this should be a pretty simple project, so I'm going to try and build the entire thing out of one 2x4. Now I believe if I cut it at about 48 inches, that'll give me roughly the angle I need, and then I can modify it as we go. Now let's go test this out, and I'm also going to take a speed square so we can check that angle. Now I want this to lean against the doghouse, so let's lean that there. Get the speed square, and that is very close to 45 degrees. Now since this will be leaning against the doghouse, we have a sharp edge here. I believe it'll be smart to cut a 45-degree angle, and that way it'll rest nice and flat against the doghouse and you don't have to worry about it moving around as much. It'll be a little bit sturdier of a fit too. Now same thing on the bottom. It currently has a sharp edge contacting the floor, so I'm going to cut a 45-degree there as well. Now that I have the angles cut on both ends, I'm actually going to rip this down the middle on my table saw. Now if by chance you don't have a table saw, that is okay. You can do this same setup with a couple 2x2 boards. In fact, you could just buy one 8-foot long piece, cut it in half, and then cut the 45-degree angles and get the same thing. Now I've set those two pieces to the side. I'm going back to that remainder leftover 2x4 that we had cut earlier. Now I want to cut out the steps, and I want the steps to be about 6 inches. Now if our remainder is 48 inches and we divide that by 6, we should end up with 8 steps. But we have to take in consideration how much wood we lose every time we have to make a cut. So each of these are going to be just a hair under 6 inches. Now I'm not going to need 8 steps for this ladder, so I'm going to actually double these up about like so the cat has a lot more surface to stand on. And to hold them together, I'm going to use some waterproof glue and some pocket screws. Now, of course, you don't have to have pocket screws. You can just glue it together, clamp them, and give it some time to dry. Now that we have the steps ready and the rails ready, these rails will actually go along the side of each of these steps. Now I did a bunch of measurements, and to get the correct height for each step, I need to go, at least the first step, 7.5 inches off the ground. That'll be the top of the step. And then the next one will be 7.5 inches up from there, or 15 inches. And to make sure I get the right height at the right angle, I'm going to be using one of these mats here. This is mainly for like fabric. When you're cutting fabric, it's self-healing. I've used it for a bunch on my workbenches, and I love them. Now we're going to take the bottom of the board here, and we're going to line it up here on this mark. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it says 45 degrees right there. And we're going to line this up in that corner, and then that will allow us to make sure that we get the correct angle and the correct measurements. Now using the side marks over here, I can go to 7.5, I'll make a mark on both sides. Go to 15, do the same. 22.5 and do the same, and then we'll have to slide this down, try and line everything up again and do the same for 30. Then of course transfer those marks over to your other board. Now of course if you don't have that mat or a way to be that exact, don't worry about it. Just get them close. Just remember there's a good chance this cat is probably going to jump some of these anyway. Now we're going to lay these steps out on edge, and then we're going to line up those marks with one of them on the end down here. And once we get everything lined up and making sure it's at the correct angle, I'm going to add a couple screws on each end. It's also a good idea to pre-drill these so we don't crack anything. Now let's take this out to the kennels and see how good it looks. Alright, let's put this in position. Right about there. Of course this will need some adjustments. Get this even at the bottom. And I think, oh, that's pretty good. It might need a little bit of a shim on this backside because of the way the doghouse is designed. But overall, it's pretty sturdy. Now let's see if we can get the cat to walk up and down it. Come here. Not you. Here, Lincoln, out of the way. Out of the way. Move. Move out of the way. That's what you get sometimes for having a dog in here too. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yeah, you're funny too. Come here. A little stubborn. Alright, let me put him on top of the doghouse and see if we have any luck there. I guess he's hungry now. So far it looks like a great success, but I still want to do a couple things, so let me take it back in the workshop. Now I have some scrap pieces of carpet. I'm going to cut these down and put them on each of the steps, and now allow him to get a better grip and less likely to slip off. And since this is not pressure treated wood, I'm going to add some waterproof glue to the bottom of both of these rails to help water from seeping up into it and making it rot prematurely. Now to attach this to the doghouse, I'm probably just going to take a screw and go right through this frame into the frame of the doghouse to hold it nice and rigid. But another idea for you, if you're going to make something similar, is to actually have hinges at the top. So if you need to clean it under it, you can just pivot it up clean and let it go right back down. Now I've pre-drilled both of these holes and added the screws, and I got that spacer I need behind this one. Even while I'm trying to work on it, I decided you wanted to use it. Come here. Lincoln, stop. Well, not the expected way for him to use it, but hey, an added benefit. And now I got one of his treats. Let's see if I can get him to use it correctly. Lincoln, stop. There we go, success. There you go, buddy. Now let's see if we can get him to come down. Now only time will truly tell if this right here is used often or not, but at the very least he is using it some, and that way hopefully it'll at least let his joints last a little bit longer and he can live a lot longer life.